explore this recursively. So I'm going to back up to problem number 4 and show you a spreadsheet here that analyzes this month by month. So here I have the same thing I had before, calculation of the future value of $400 paid in each month for 25 years at 2% per year. And so applying the formula in the book, we can come up with this future value here. Now I want to look at it in terms of month by month. What's happening in the bank? So I'm putting $400 in each month. And to make that formula happen, I just say look in cell A2. And since I'm going to fill this formula down, I put a $sign in front of the 2 to make it an absolute reference. So that way, if I take it and use the magic fill button, it's always going to look in cell A2. If I didn't have the sign in front of the 2, when I filled it down, the computer would give itself the freedom to change the 2 to a 3, and then a 4, then a 5, and that's just going to give me nonsense. So whenever we make a formula with relative cell references, we have to ask ourselves, are we going to move this formula somewhere else by filling or copy and pasting? If so, then we need to decide when to put $signs for absolute references and when to leave it alone. So the payment is an absolute reference. I always want to grab it from that cell. Here I am making the payment at the end of each month, and so I don't get any interest in the first month. It's after that I start collecting interest. So let's see how I start collecting interest. Well, I'm going to take my previous balance, which has been sitting there between the end of month 1 and the end of month 2. And I want to multiply that by, and this is a simple interest calculation, very straightforward. Simple interest is the principal times the rate times the time, and the time is 1/12 of a year, so I'm just dividing by 12 at the end here, using a cell reference. Now, something to keep in mind, when I calculate the interest, the balance is changing each month, so that stays without $signs. That's relative. The APR and the periods per year, that's always in row 2, and so I had to put a $sign to fix that to calculate the interest, and that's ready to fill down. As far as the balance goes, the balance is just my previous balance plus my new payment plus the interest based on the old balance. Really simple sum. Once I have those formulas, an absolute reference for the payment, a combination of relative and absolute references to get the interest, and a combination of just relative references to find the new balance, I'm ready to fill it down. Now, computer remember, or spreadsheet, I should say, when you give it a pattern of 2 numbers and highlight them, again, highlighting is clicking in the middle, dragging and letting go, and then I grab the fill button and I fill it down, will generate linear patterns, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm doing this a slightly different way. Here I'm saying take the previous period reference and add 1 to it. So that's going to generate the numbers 1, 2, 3. So now I have a set of formulas in row 6 here, the second row of my table, and I'm ready to fill it down. So let me just drag that. Now here I have 12 times 25, which is going to be, I think, 300 rows. And so I'm going to fill it down. And I'm just going to fill it over the stuff that's here. So that's going to go down quite a ways. And you can see I already have data here. And I'm just going to overfill it. And it's going to recalculate. I'm going to get the same number I had before. So what the spreadsheet tells me is that if I pay $400 a month and my interest calculation is based on that 2% over once each 12 months, that I'll have $155,528.45. Scrolling back up to the top, I just put a reference to that last cell in D304 here. And I'm just confirming that I get the same thing as the book formula. Book formula is this relatively complicated combination of growth rates and growth multipliers over a given amount of periods. Alternatively, simple interest formula and some additions with relative and absolute references allow me to generate a spreadsheet that calculates month by month what's happening with my account, which is pretty darn cool. So I'll share this with the class later, this whole spreadsheet. It's a very nice thing to be able to do. So that's a savings annuity. So I replicated that same spreadsheet in the next one here. This one was where we were just paying once a year and collecting 8% interest once a year. And so we can see what happens over 30 years. So just a lot fewer cells because I'm only doing it once a year. But I can see here that the final formula I have just with simple interest and sums is the same as this wild calculation using the savings